Hello. So today's lecture about the interaction. Before, if we have learned about the human and computer, now we're going to learn the interaction between the human and the computer. As you know, in order to have some interaction, we should have two parts. So one is computer and one is the human. So today we are going to see the interaction. What is the interaction? Here in our class, we are going to see the interaction models, ergonomics, interaction styles, and context of interaction. Interaction models helps us to understand what's going on in the interaction between user and a system. They address the translation between what the user wants and what the system does. Ergonomics looks at the physical characteristics of interaction and how these influence its effectiveness. Interaction styles, it is the dialogue between user and system, is influenced by the style of the interface. So we are going to learn the nature of user and system dialogue. And the last one is the context where the interaction happens. The interaction takes place within a social and organizational context that affects both user and the system. So what is interaction? Interaction, we consider that it is the communication between user and the system. So, and we know that in interaction we have two participants. One is the user and the other is the system. And both of them are complex and are very different from each other. In the way that they communicate and in the way that they are uh, performing the task. So now we will look at the models of interaction that enable us to identify and evaluate components of the interaction and at the physical, social, and organizational issues that provides the context for it. And here at the beginning, let's start from the terms of interaction. The terms of interaction are domain, goal, task. Domain is the area of work under study. So, domain is the area of work under study. Yes, so it is the main, let's say, it is the So domain, it defines an area of expertise and knowledge in some real world activity. For example, it is the graphical design. And after that, we have goals and tasks. Goal is what you want to achieve. What is your goal? And the task is how you about doing it, or what are the operations or actions that you are going to take in order to achieve that goal. And of course, there we have also an intention of what should we do in order to achieve that goal. And one of the models that are widely used and the most influential in human-computer interaction, it is the Norman's model. So what is the Donald Normal's model? So this uh, Donald Normal's model formulates us a plan of action. So the plan of action that should be executed. And after the execution, the user observes the computer interface to evaluate the result of the executed plan and to determine further actions. So this Donald Normal's model can be divided into two major phases, execution and evaluation. And while execution and evaluation we have also subdivision into stages, and these are the 7 stages. At the beginning, user establishes the goal. So each stage is of course an activity of the user, yes, that activity will perform. So first the user forms a goal. This is the user's notion of what needs to be done and is framed in terms of the domain in the task language. And after that, after establishing the goal, we are formulating the intention. What should we do? After intention, we should specify actions at interface. What actions should be done in interface? After that, we are going to execute these actions. After the executions, we are going to perceive the system state, see how the system is going to act. After perceiving the system states, we are going to interpret the system state, interpret how it behaved, the system, and at the end, we are going to evaluate the system state with, with respect to the goal. So here the Donald Normals model mostly concentrates on users' view of the interface. How at the end the interface was, or how the interface have become after having some intentions. Have we reached the goal or not? So here we have the execution evaluation goal, execution and evaluation loop. So here we have a goal. Here we have, at the beginning, we have goal, execution. There is a system, some changes in the system, and then we are going to evaluate our system. So when we are going to establish a goal, so at the beginning, we are what? Establishing the goal. For example, if we take as an example that you need more light, for example, in the evening you are sitting at home and you are reading a book and you need more light. So your goal is to get more light. You are establishing the goal that you want more light. After that, the execution, you are formulating intention. What should you do? Your intention is to switch on the desk lamp, for example, and you are specifying actions at interface. Your action is to what? Reach over and press the lamp switch and execute the action. So press the lamp switch, yes? After your execution happened, you are trying to perceive the system state. So your goal, what? You achieved the goal, but here you are going to perceive the system. If the light is enough, if it is really the light that you want, and if you have enough light. So this is the perceiving of system states and interpreting system state. After that, you are evaluating system state with the respect goal. I had a goal to have more light, and when I switched on the lamp, is it enough for me? This is the execution evaluation loop of uh, Norman's model. And of course, some systems are harder to use than others. And using Normal's model give us two things, gulf of execution and gulf of evaluation. So the gulf of the execution is when the user's formulations of actions are different from the actions allowed by the system. So if the actions allowed by the system correspond to those intended by the user, the interaction will be effective. And therefore, the interface should aim to reduce this gulf. So gulf of execution, the difference of the users' formulations of the actions to reach the goal and the actions allowed by the system. The gulf of evaluation, it is the user's expectations of change system state and actual presentation of the system state. So if the user can readily evaluate the presentation in terms of his goal, the gulf of evaluation will be small. So the more effort that is required on the part of the user to interpret the presentation, the less effective the interaction. And here we have human errors, yes, slips and mistakes. When we have the right intention uh, but incorrect actions, or we may have even not right intention and not right goal. So sleep means your intentions are correct. You understand system and goal. You formulate the correct actions, but at the end you are doing incorrect actions. And mistakes, it is when you don't understand the system and your intention is very different from the goal. So this is the slips and mistakes. And fixing the things, of course, if it is a slip, then you could do just better interface design. But if it is the mistake, then means you should first understand the what better understanding of the. So Donald Normal's model is mostly considers what the view, it concentrates on the user's view of interaction. And And here we have an extension of Norman's model proposed by Abbott and Biale, and here mostly addresses the problem. So this is the extension of normal, we can say. So their interaction framework has four parts: user, input, system, and output. So each one has its own unique language, yes? And interaction means translation between languages. Problems in interaction, problems in translation. So according to using about Bill's model, it is the user intentions are translated into actions that at the interface, translated into alterations of system state, reflected in the output display, and then interpreted by the user. So general framework for understanding interaction is not restricted to electronic computer systems. Yes, we have different kind of computer systems, or we have different kind of systems. Here, the framework identifies all major components involved in interaction, allows comparative assessment of the systems, and allows us an abstraction. And the So here, if we say, if we conclude, then here the user wants to find out by using these four steps, translate from one component to another the tasks. So we have some core, we have some user, we have some system, and user wants to interact with the system, and we should find out what are the inputs and what are the outputs in order to do the task, and this task is done in order to achieve our goals. So now let's talk about the